Good morning. Today is Thursday, January 30th, 2020, and you're watching the Daily Mix TV. Hi, my name is Sean Patrick Hillman. MoviePass has filed for bankruptcy liquidation, meaning the movie ticket subscription service is done. MoviePass, which shut down last year, said it may owe as much as $1.2 million to 12,000 subscribers, or that's about $100 per subscriber. Now, the business unto itself was destined for doom from the beginning, folks. When you put together a business plan, you have to factor in competitive response. Think about this. These guys thought they could sell unlimited movie access to subscribers for $10 a month, meaning you spend $10, you can go see 100 movies a month. It doesn't matter. And they also thought that theater owners like AMC would be okay with that. Are you friggin' kidding me? Poor planning and even poorer marketing led to the demise of this company that was flawed from the start. As we announced last week, Uber is laying off 1,100 people. Now word hits that Lyft is slashing 90 jobs, or 1.6% of its workforce, as it seeks to achieve profitability by the end of next year. The ride-hail giant says workers in the sales and marketing teams will be affected by the corporate restructure. They did add that they plan to hire more than 1,000 new employees this year. This move comes as Lyft and its rival Uber, which both went public last year, face growing pressure to turn a profit. You know, we've talked about ride-hail a lot. Uber diversified itself through Uber Eats and its investment unit into some new technologies like Uber's flying vehicle, which has yet to make its debut. With Lyft, they diversified through actual transportation alternatives, like through City Bike, which they now own. So it's interesting to watch the two of them duke it out. Obviously, Uber is much larger than Lyft is. But when you factor in the fact that they're making job cuts already, that is a serious concern. Because as we go into, and frankly, what really is an unsure year. It's an election year with a lot of variables. Now you've got the coronavirus in China, which is affecting the markets. You know, Facebook yesterday came out the gate with some news, and this morning their stock dropped so heavily that $50 billion in value was lost in the market at stock open. So you've got to start looking at the market and saying, okay, is now a good time to be announcing job cuts and these kinds of things, because it's going to negatively affect our stock price. Maybe we take money and reinvest in those employees and reinvest in marketing to grow. So I know that's a hard line, especially coming from a marketer. But remember, I've also been the business guy. So I've been on both sides of that argument. Frankly, no one's right and no one's wrong in a temperature format. Every situation is different. So when I look at a brand like Lyft that's got so much promise and potential, and they're known for their marketing tactics, like the mustaches that used to be on the front of their vehicles. When you think about that as part of your DNA, and you're forsaking your sales and marketing team in, 1.6% layoff, that's a big number for a company like Lyft. So that does raise some concerns. Hopefully they're able to turn it around. To be honest with you, when it comes to ride hail, I try to stay away from them. I try to use local taxi services because I believe more in the local economy. But if I am going to use a ride hail, it's more likely to be Lyft, just because, frankly, I really don't like Uber. Lyft is not as greedy as Uber is, and quite frankly, they're also not as damaging. All right, all the news that's fit to print, except for billionaire investor Warren Buffett, who's exiting the newspaper business. In what's said to be a $140 million cash deal, his company, Berkshire Hathaway, is selling its newspaper unit, BH Media, which includes 30 dailies, and that's to Lee Enterprises. Now, Lee already owns papers like the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. He's been running Buffett's papers since 2018. Warren Buffett last year came out and said that newspapers are going to disappear. Now, it's important to note, Lee borrowed money from Berkshire to complete the purchase. So this isn't exactly black and white. And when you get into statements like, newspapers are going to disappear, right, albums were going to disappear when tapes and CDs came out. Well, vinyl made a huge comeback. Cassettes are starting to make a comeback now. When you look at the idea of TV, it hasn't disappeared. It's just evolved into streaming. So, I don't necessarily believe newspapers are going to disappear. I think that their format's going to continue to change a little bit, and the business will continue to evolve. Looks like there's going to be a little more sweetness in the air of the Big Apple. Legendary donut mecca Krispy Kreme is back. They announced yesterday they were going to open 6 locations in New York City this year, including its previously announced Times Square flagship. Currently, the company has 1 location in the city at Penn Station, which is set to reopen today after being remodeled as part of their expansion. The first new Krispy Kreme location in the city will open on February 4th in Manhattan's Midtown area. Now, additional store locations will be Manhattan's Fidei, Harlem, Upper West Side neighborhood, as well as a location in the Bronx. Krispy Kreme's 4,500 square foot flagship at Broadway and 48th in Times Square is set to open in May. Now, that store is expected to serve more customers annually than any other location in the world. It's also going to showcase the donut making process from start to finish. So when they pour the raw ingredients in, creating that, iconic glazed waterfall, how they shape everything. It's going to be really cool to watch. Now, it's going to include a stadium-style seating area designed as the world's largest Krispy Kreme donut box. Krispy Kreme has nearly 1,400 shops in 33 countries. This is an incredible move when you factor in the history of this brand in New York. So back in the 90s, they had this explosive growth, and they were everywhere. I mean, everybody was talking about Krispy Kreme. And as a matter of fact, some trend watchers had actually called for the death of Dunkin' Donuts, given the popularity of Krispy Kreme at the time. Now, they got ahead of their britches too far, and they ended up closing every store in New York City, as well as across the country. They closed a lot of stores. They consolidated to a very small, profitable unit, and then started to slowly expand again. So obviously Krispy Kreme is back. It's back in trend. It's back in vogue. So it's going to be really cool to see how they do this. I can't wait. All right, speaking of New York City, Nordstroms opened a massive flagship store on 57th and Broadway late last year. Well, now that location is going to serve as the launching pad for their latest endeavor. It's called the Thrift business. The department store chain announced it would be launching its own secondhand shop-in-shop called See You Tomorrow at this store. So what you have right now in department stores is a severe problem with respect to beauty and with respect to overall traffic. Department stores have tried to do a lot of gimmicky kind of things. Now they're starting to evolve their marketing platforms into things that are a little more serious and certainly well thought out. As an example, this store, granted, is abnormally large. They have a lot of restaurants and a lot of cocktail lounges within the store. When you look at Saks Fifth Avenue, they have a hot restaurant and bar inside as well. So department stores are looking for other ways to drive consumer traffic back to their doors. The problem is, for their primary businesses, they're looking at, such as beauty and fashion, they're looking at some serious losses because they've failed to evolve that portion of their business. What they need to start doing is integrating more in how that looks and how that feels to a millennial consumer, to a Gen Z consumer. Bear in mind, Generation Z is more like Gen X and baby boomers in terms of their core values. So they're more apt to go in-store than, let's say, a millennial is. With respect to beauty departments, the problem that I have, such as Saks Fifth Avenue, they moved beauty off the main floor. So now their sales have tanked. And a lot of people who work there have complained they're just not making the same amount of money that they used to. With Nordstroms, they opened Nordstrom Men's across the street, again on 57th and Broadway, on the west side of Broadway, about 2 years ago now. And they spent a lot of money promoting it, but the store remained empty for most of the time. The flagship store, I'm hearing, is doing okay, but not as well as projected. So it's going to be interesting to see how department stores continue to change in 2020, or watch many of them close. Unilever and Sundial Brands are looking to cater to the hair needs of Gen Z's multicultural women with their latest line, Emerge. It's a 6-piece line of textured hair care products that are available exclusively at Target. Emerge's moisture-rich products are designed to help add curl definition and reduce frizz for 48 hours using ingredients like pequi oil and almond milk. The line is also free of sulfates, parabens, phthalates, silicones, mineral oil, and so on. To spread awareness of its product range and purpose, the Sundial Brands assembled what's called the Emerge Creative Collective, or ECC. That's primarily influential young women of color with diverse hair types, styles, and creative passions. So what they've done is, excuse me, they've dialed directly into their brand DNA, okay, because it's all about multicultural women. They've looked at the audience in terms of Gen Z and what their behavior patterns are, and they created this coalition, or this collective rather, of women to talk with consumers about, different hair types, whether you've got a tight curl or a loose curl, what kind of texture that is, how to, achieve better body and style, those kinds of things. So the ECC roster currently includes professional ballet dancer Erica Lau, LGBTQIA activist Jessica Zaire, singer-songwriter and bassist Tenonia Saputo, and professional photographer Nesrin Danan, nail artist and natural hair vlogger Blake Jail, and vintage fashion entrepreneur Veronica Bonilla. Celebrity hairstylist Nevasha is also part of the ECC. Emerge is exclusively available at Target stores nationwide and online, and the products carry a suggested retail of $6.99. So with the ECC roster, you've got everything from, a hair vlogger to a nail and hair vlogger to a fashion entrepreneur to singer and songwriters. It's really engaging and interesting, especially when you look at the behavior patterns of Gen Z. So for a Gen Z target and the way that they're approaching this, very, very smart. Love what I'm seeing. Can't wait to see the results. News of the coronavirus keeps getting more and more grim by the day. United, British Airways, and several other airlines have all but stopped service in and out of China. Now word hits that a cruise ship off the coast of Italy is stranded with 6,000 passengers, as one of them is presenting with symptoms. They are taking an extreme measure out of precaution in quarantining the ship until the passenger's illness can be confirmed. Look, guys, at the end of the day, they addressed this way too late. And when you look at how fast this is spreading, it's already beaten the SARS outbreak back in the early 2000s. And it's projected to hit millions of people by the end of this year. So things are only going to get worse before they get better. Please remain vigilant and safe. All right, for this week's Throwback Thursday, do you remember this scene from Superman 2?
Hello there. Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor. Possibly you've heard the name, the greatest criminal mind on Earth.
I told you this was a puny planet.
Wait just a moment. Wait. You get to know me better, will you, please? Hey, wait! Look, I can give you anything you want. I can give you the brass ring, the unlimited freedom to maim, kill, destroy. Plus, Lex Luthor's keen mind, Lex Luthor's savvy, Lex Luthor's career guidance, Lex Luthor's school of better realism.
We have all of this without you. You cannot bargain with what you don't have.
Oh, magnificent one. What I am bargaining with is what you do not have. The son of Jor-El.
Happy birthday to legendary actor Gene Hackman. In a career that spanned more than 6 decades, Hackman won 2 Academy Awards, 4 Golden Globes, 1 Screen Actors Guild Award, and 2 BAFTAs. I've loved Gene Hackman's work since I was a little boy. You guys all know how much of a fan of Superman I am. When he came up as Lex Luthor in the original Superman movie in 1978, I gotta tell you, everything about his performance always stood out to me. And then later when I saw him in other movies, certainly some of his earlier work, I became an even bigger fan. So happy birthday, Mr. Hackman. Thank you for a lifetime of entertainment. All right, folks, I'm out of time. My name is Sean Patrick Hillman. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Daily Mix TV. If you have any questions, comments, or story ideas, please email dailymixtv@gmail.com. We'll see you tomorrow on Friday.